The eviction notice was posted at 9:17 a.m. on a Tuesday morning in October. I know the exact time because the property manager texted me a photograph of the sheriff's deputy taping it to the front door. The door I had hung myself in the summer of 1998 with brass hinges I'd picked out at Anderson's Hardware because they were solid enough to last 40 years. They'd lasted 26. My ex-wife Jennifer stood on the porch I had poured and finished with my own hands, reading the notice with the same expression she'd worn in the lawyer's office 10 years earlier. Not surprise, not grief, just the cool calculation of someone deciding which battle to fight next and whether the ammunition was worth the cost. She never saw me sitting in the truck 2 blocks down. She didn't know I owned the house. She didn't know I had owned it for 3 years. And she had absolutely no idea what was coming next. Welcome to Family Reckoning. I'm grateful you found this story today. Let me know you're here with me. Drop your state or country in the comments so I can see where this message is reaching. Also, a quick note. This story contains some fictionalized storytelling elements for dramatic and educational purposes. Any resemblance to actual people or events is coincidental, but the core lesson, that's real as it gets. Concrete has a smell when it's setting. Alkaline and mineral. The smell of something becoming permanent. I learned that smell in July of 1998 when I spent 4 16-hour days pouring and finishing the foundation for the house that would eventually destroy my marriage before I took it back and made it mean something else entirely. I was 31 years old. Jennifer was 29. We had been married for 3 years and had saved $18,000 between us. Her parents had given us the land, 2 acres outside Spartanburg with mature pines and a slope that required careful grading. I had drawn the plans myself at our kitchen table over 8 weeks, erasing and redrawing until Jennifer stopped looking over my shoulder and started trusting I knew what I was doing. I did know what I was doing. I had worked construction since I was 19. Framing, roofing, finish work. I understood how buildings went together because I had spent 12 years taking them apart and putting them back together for other people. This was the first time I was doing it for myself. For us, I thought. The foundation took 4 days. The framing took 6 weeks with help from 2 guys I worked with, Danny Cortez and a man we called Preach because he had been a youth pastor before he discovered he was better with a nail gun than a pulpit. We worked weekends and evenings. Jennifer brought us lunch on Saturdays. Sandwiches and cold lemonade and the particular kind of pride you see in a woman's face when she watches something being built that will belong to her. By November we had walls and a roof. By February we had plumbing and electrical roughed in, inspected and approved. By April we had drywall. I did the finish work myself through that summer because finish work is where a house stops being a structure and becomes a home, and I wanted every piece of trim, every door casing, every baseboard to be something I could touch 10 years later and say, I made that. I made all of it. We moved in on September 12, 1999. Our daughter Emma was born in the master bedroom on June 4, 2000. Same bedroom I had framed with my own hands. Same walls I had insulated and drywalled and painted pale yellow because Jennifer said yellow was a happy color. For 6 years it was happy. The smell of concrete setting is the smell of permanence. What they don't tell you is that nothing is actually permanent. Not concrete. Not marriage. Not the story you tell yourself about who you're building things for. The divorce was finalized on a Thursday in March 11 years ago. I sat across from Jennifer in a conference room that smelled like new carpet and the particular kind of exhaustion that comes from spending 14 months turning a marriage into a transaction. Her lawyer was a woman named Claudia Voss who wore reading glasses on a chain and had the exhausted competence of someone who had done this 500 times and would do it 500 more. My lawyer was a public defender doing family law on the side named Tony Ramirez who had told me in our second meeting, "You built the house, but her name is on the deed. Tennessee is an equitable distribution state, which means the court doesn't care who swung the hammer. They care what's fair." Fair, I had said. Their version of fair, Tony clarified. What the court decided was fair. Jennifer got the house. I had built it, but both names were on the title, and Jennifer had Emma primary custody, which meant Emma needed stability, which meant the house stayed with Jennifer. Jennifer got 70% of the savings. Equitable distribution based on her reduced earning capacity during the marriage while raising Emma. I got the truck. A 2003 Silverado with 140,000 miles that I had paid off 2 years earlier. I got every other weekend with Emma and alternating holidays. I got to keep my tools. That last one, I remember, was presented as a concession. Mr. Halloran keeps his personal tools and equipment. As though letting me keep the means by which I earned my living was an act of generosity rather than bare minimum decency. I signed the papers. Jennifer signed the papers. Claudia Voss collected them with the efficiency of someone gathering groceries. Tony Ramirez shook my hand and said he was sorry it hadn't gone differently. Jennifer looked at me across the table. For just a second, I thought I saw something. Not regret exactly. Maybe recognition. The acknowledgement that we had built something together and watched it come apart and were now signing the paperwork that made the ending official. Then she picked up her purse and walked out, and I didn't see her again for 10 years except in 30-second increments when I picked up Emma from the porch I had poured with my own hands. Before I tell you what I did with those 10 years, let me know you're still with me. Comment, still listening, or drop 100 points below, so I know this story is reaching someone who needs to hear it. And just a reminder, some elements here are fictionalized for storytelling purposes, but the lesson, that's universal. The first year after the divorce, I lived in a rented room in a house on the east side of Spartanburg that belonged to a retired electrician named Howard Chun. The room was small, one window south-facing, a closet that fit my clothes and nothing else. I kept my tools in Howard's garage and paid him an extra $30 a month for the space. I worked. That was what I did. Framing jobs, remodel work, anything that paid hourly and didn't ask too many questions about why a man with my skills was living in a rented room. I sent Jennifer the child support check on the first of every month. $740. Never late. Never questioned. I saw Emma every other weekend. I took her to breakfast at the diner on Highway 29 that made pancakes the size of dinner plates. I took her to the park. I taught her how to use a level when she was 8 and a tape measure when she was 9. She was good with her hands the way I was good with my hands. Careful. Patient. She asked me once why I didn't live in the house anymore. She was 7. We were sitting on a bench at Tiger River Park, feeding ducks with bread we'd bought specifically for that purpose because Jennifer had taught her that feeding ducks was something you planned for, not something you did with leftover sandwich crusts. Your mom and I decided we'd be happier living separately, I said, which was the script Jennifer and I had agreed on. Emma had looked at me with the particular directness children have before the world teaches them to soften their questions. Are you happier? I didn't lie to her. I had promised myself I wouldn't lie to her. Not yet, I said, but I'm working on it. That was year 1. Year 2, I moved into a small apartment on the north side. 1 bedroom, kitchen, bathroom. It had a parking spot and a storage unit in the basement where I could keep my tools. I bought a used couch from a church sale and a bed frame from a guy on Craigslist who delivered it in a van with no shocks. I kept working. I started saving again. Not for anything specific. Just saving because saving was what you did when you didn't know what else to do. Years 3 and 4 blurred together. Work. Emma every other weekend. Child support on the first. I dated briefly in year 4, a woman named Angela who worked at the credit union and liked hiking. It didn't take. Not because of her. Because I wasn't ready to build anything that required another person's name on the deed. Year 5, something changed. I was doing a remodel job for a couple in their 60s, Paul and Diane Mercer. Big job. Kitchen, master bath, new deck. Paul had made his money in commercial real estate, retired early, and spent his time now fixing up properties and teaching his grandkids how to fish. We were standing in his gutted kitchen one afternoon in October when he said, "You're good at this." "Thank you," I said. "No, I mean you're good at this." He gestured at the framing I'd been installing. "You think about it. You see 3 steps ahead. That's not common." I didn't know what to say, so I nodded. "You ever think about buying property?" Paul asked. "Fixing it up? Renting it out?" "I don't have that kind of capital," I said. Paul picked up a level from my toolbox, sighted down it like he was checking something, then set it back down. "Capital's easier to find than skill," he said. "You've got the skill. I know people who have the capital. That conversation lasted 8 minutes. It changed the entire shape of what came next. By year 6, I owned my first rental property. A small 2-bedroom house in a decent neighborhood that needed work. Foundation was solid. Roof needed replacing. Kitchen was 40 years old. I bought it for $67,000 with a loan Paul helped me secure through a lender he knew, who understood that a man's work history was worth more than his credit score. I spent 4 months fixing it up. New roof. New kitchen cabinets I built myself. Refinished the floors. Painted every room. I rented it out for $900 a month to a young couple who worked at the hospital and needed a place that allowed their dog. The mortgage was $520 a month. Insurance and taxes were another $190. I cleared $190 a month profit, which I rolled directly into savings. By year 8, I owned 3 properties. By year 10, I owned 6. I was not wealthy, but I was no longer living in a rented room. I had learned something in those 10 years that I had not understood when I was 31 and pouring concrete for a house I thought would last forever. Buildings don't care who loves them. They care who maintains them, who pays the taxes, who holds the deed. I had spent 10 years learning how to hold deeds. The phone call came on a Tuesday afternoon in June, 3 years before the eviction notice. I was replacing a water heater in one of my rentals when my phone rang. The number was unfamiliar, local area code. I almost didn't answer. Then I did. "Is this Michael Halloran?" A woman's voice. Professional. The tone of someone calling about a transaction, not a relationship. Speaking. "Mr. Halloran, my name is Karen Westfield. I'm a broker with Palmetto Property Group. I'm calling about a property at 1447 Oakmont Drive. Our records show you might have a prior interest." 1447 Oakmont Drive. The house I built. The house Jennifer got in the divorce. "What kind of interest?" I asked carefully. "The property is entering pre-foreclosure. The owner has missed 4 mortgage payments. The lender is beginning the process of repossession, but they're motivated to avoid foreclosure if a buyer can be found quickly. We're reaching out to previous owners and interested parties before it goes to public auction." I set down my wrench. "What's the situation?" Karen Westfield explained it efficiently. Jennifer had refinanced the house twice since the divorce. Once in year 3 to pull out equity. Once in year 7, same reason. The current mortgage balance was $178,000 on a house worth maybe $210,000. She was 4 months behind. The lender wanted to avoid the foreclosure process. They were willing to sell the note at a discount to a qualified buyer. "What kind of discount?" I asked. "For a cash buyer who can close quickly, they'd take $155,000. I did the math in my head. I had $89,000 in liquid savings. I could borrow against my rental properties for the rest. The numbers worked. Barely, but they worked. "I'm interested," I said. "But I need this handled quietly. The current occupant is my ex-wife. She doesn't need to know I'm the buyer until after the sale closes." Karen Westfield was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "I've been doing this for 18 years, Mr. Halloran. I've seen everything. This won't be my first discrete transaction." We closed in 43 days. The deed transferred to an LLC I had set up specifically for the purchase. Carolina Pine Holdings. Jennifer received notice that the property had been sold to satisfy the debt and that she now had a new landlord. She had 90 days to arrange a lease or vacate. She chose to lease. $1,400 a month. Below market rate, but I wasn't trying to profit off her. I was trying to do something else. Something I didn't have a name for yet, but that felt like the first full breath I'd taken in 10 years. For 3 years, Jennifer paid rent to Carolina Pine Holdings, which deposited the checks and maintained the property and never once revealed that the man who owned the LLC was the same man who had poured the foundation 26 years earlier. Comment justice if you're feeling this. Let me know you're still locked in. The missed payments started 8 months ago. First one in February. Karen Westfield, who I had kept on as property manager, sent me the notice. "Tenant at Oakmont is 30 days late. Do you want me to send a reminder?" Send it, I said. Jennifer paid. Then missed March. Paid April late. Missed May entirely. By July, she was 3 months behind. That's when I asked Karen to do a wellness check, which is property management language for finding out what the hell is going on. Karen called me back that evening. I spoke with her. She's evasive. Mentioned some financial trouble. Asked if the landlord would consider a payment plan. What kind of financial trouble? I asked. She didn't specify, but I saw a BMW in the driveway that's new since my last visit. And she mentioned a trip to Hilton Head recently. So it's not that kind of trouble. It was the other kind of trouble. The kind where someone lives beyond their means for long enough that the gap between income and expenses becomes a hole they can't climb out of. I had lived in a rented room for a year and saved every extra dollar while Jennifer lived in the house I built. I had driven the same truck for 15 years while she refinanced twice to pull out equity for things I would never know about and that were none of my business until they became my business by virtue of her not paying rent. Send a formal notice, I said. 30 days to pay in full or vacate. Karen sent it. Jennifer called the property management office. Karen told me about the call. She wants to know if she can speak directly with the owner of Carolina Pine Holdings. She said she's sure they can work something out if she could just explain the situation. What did you tell her? I asked. I told her the owner prefers to keep all communication through property management. That's standard. She wasn't happy, but she accepted it. The 30 days passed. No payment. Karen sent the next notice, this one with legal letterhead. 60 days to vacate or eviction proceedings would begin. Jennifer hired a lawyer. The lawyer sent a letter claiming Jennifer had tenant rights and requesting documentation of ownership and proof of proper notice. We provided everything. LLC documentation, deed transfer, certified mail receipts. Every piece of paper in perfect order because I had spent 10 years learning that the person with the best paperwork wins. The eviction was filed in August. Court date set for September. Jennifer's lawyer asked for a continuance. Denied. The hearing lasted 11 minutes. The judge reviewed the documentation, asked Jennifer's lawyer if there was any dispute about the missed payments. The lawyer said no, but requested additional time for his client to secure alternative housing. The judge gave her 30 days. The eviction notice went up on October 17th at 9:17 in the morning. I didn't go to the house the day she moved out. I had someone else handle that. A property manager Karen recommended who specialized in post-eviction cleanouts and who didn't ask questions. I went 3 days later, alone. Mid-morning on a Friday when the neighborhood was quiet. The house looked smaller than I remembered. Not physically smaller. Smaller in significance. For 10 years, this building had occupied an enormous space in my mind. The thing I lost. The thing that represented everything the divorce had taken from me. Now it was just a house. Siding that needed washing. Gutters that needed cleaning. A structure that required maintenance like any other. I walked up the porch steps. The concrete had a crack running along the left side that hadn't been there before. Settling, probably. Normal for a foundation this age. I made a mental note to seal it. The front door opened with the key Karen had sent me. The brass hinges I had installed in 1998 moved smoothly. 40-year hinges. Still 20 years left in them. Inside, the house was empty. Jennifer had taken her furniture, her belongings, everything portable. What remained was what I had built. The trim work in the living room. Crown molding I had cut and fitted by hand over 2 weekends in the fall of 1999 while Jennifer painted the walls and told me I was being too particular about the miter joints. The kitchen cabinets I had installed. Still solid. Hinges tight. The hardwood floors in the hallway that I had sanded and finished myself. Working in the evenings after 10-hour days on other job sites because we couldn't afford to hire it out. I walked through every room. Slowly. Not with nostalgia. With assessment. The assessment of a man who understands structures and knows what they need. The master bedroom was the last room I entered. Pale yellow walls. Faded now but still recognizably the color Jennifer had chosen because yellow was happy. Emma had been born in this room 23 years ago. I had held Jennifer's hand and counted her breaths and felt more terror and more joy in 6 hours than I had known a person could contain. That had happened. It was real. The divorce didn't erase it. But standing in the empty room now, what I felt was not loss. What I felt was something quieter and stranger. Completion. The sense that a story that had been unfinished for 10 years had finally found its last sentence. I took out my phone and called Paul Mercer. He answered on the second ring. "Michael, how's the property?" "Needs work," I said. "But the bones are good. I built it right the first time." Paul laughed. "You always do. What's the plan?" "Fix it up. Rent it out properly this time. To someone who pays on time." "Sounds right," Paul said. Then, quieter, "How do you feel?" I looked around the empty bedroom, the yellow walls, the window that faced east, where the morning light came in the way Jennifer had wanted it. "Like I finally got something back that I didn't know I could get back," I said. "What's that?" "The part of me that knows how to build things without needing someone else's name on the deed." Paul was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "That's the whole game, Michael. That's the whole damn game." Emma called me that night. She was 23 now, living in Charlotte, working as a paralegal and slowly figuring out what kind of adult she wanted to be. We talked every couple of weeks. Casual check-ins. Updates. The kind of relationship that had survived the divorce by staying simple and honest. "Dad," she said when I answered. "Mom told me what happened." I sat down on my couch. I figured she would. She said the landlord evicted her. She didn't say the landlord was you. I was quiet. "It was you, wasn't it?" Emma said, not accusing, just clarifying. "Yes. For 3 years. Yes." Emma exhaled. "She refinanced the house twice after the divorce. Did you know that?" "I found out when the property went into foreclosure. She pulled out almost $60,000 total. I don't know what she spent it on. She won't tell me." Emma paused. "Dad, I'm not mad at you. I thought I should say that clearly. I'm not mad." "Okay," I said. "I'm mad at her," Emma said quietly. "You built that house. You built it with your hands. She got it in the divorce and then she didn't take care of it. She didn't take care of a lot of things. I didn't know what to say to that, so I just listened." "Are you going to sell it?" Emma asked. "No," I said. "I'm going to fix it up and rent it to someone who'll take care of it." "Good," Emma said. "That feels right." We talked for a few more minutes. Small things. Her job. Her apartment. Before we hung up, she said, "Dad, I'm proud of you. I don't know if I've said that enough, but I'm proud of what you built. Not just the house. Everything after. That landed somewhere I hadn't known was still tender." "Thank you, Emma," I said. After we hung up, I sat on my couch in my apartment and looked around at the life I had built in 10 years. Not the life I had planned. Not the life I thought I was building when I was 31 and drawing house plans at a kitchen table. A different life. Smaller in some ways. Larger in others. A life where my name was on every deed. Where I decided what got built and what got torn down. Where no judge could take from me what I had made with my own hands unless I signed the paper that said they could. I had learned something in 10 years that I wish I had understood earlier, but maybe you can't understand these things until you've lost them once. Buildings don't care who loves them. They care who maintains them, who holds the deed, who shows up when the foundation cracks and does the work to seal it. I showed up. I did the work. And 10 years later I got the house back. Not because I wanted revenge. Because I wanted to prove to myself that the things I built still had value. That I still had value. That a man who loses everything can spend 10 years becoming the kind of man who knows how to get it back. If the story reached something in you, I want to hear about it. Leave a comment. Tell me where you are in your own story. Are you in the room at Howard's house? Or are you 3 properties in? Are you signing divorce papers? Or are you holding your first deed? Wherever you are, I want you to know this: what you build with your own hands has value. Even if someone takes it. Even if a judge says it belongs to someone else. The skill that built it once can build it again. You are not what you lost. You are what you do next. Here's my honest advice, one builder to another. Don't spend 10 years waiting for someone to give back what they took. Spend 10 years becoming the kind of person who can build it again. Better this time. With your name on the deed. With the kind of foundation that doesn't crack under pressure. The people worth keeping in your life will stay when you stop building for them and start building for yourself. These stories aren't easy to tell, but they need to be told. Because somewhere out there, someone is sitting in a rented room wondering if they'll ever get back what they lost. You will. Not the same way. Not the same thing. But you'll build something. And it'll be yours. If this reached you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe to Family Reckoning so you never miss another story like this. Comment below and let me know what you're building next. Thank you for staying to the end. It means everything. And one last note. Some elements of this story are fictionalized for narrative and educational purposes. If that's not for you, I respect that. But the core truth that you can lose everything and still build it back. That's real. That's always real.